we watched a documentary entitled The Making of Citizen Kane. And one of the gentlemen interviewed said for Orson Welles, his greatness was really his downfall.
Meaning?
That he had been praised from a young age, and great things were expected of him, and the keys to the studios were basically handed to a 24-year-old boy, pretty much. And he threw caution to the wind, this gentleman felt. So can someone be too flippant with things, too
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. I am one of those people. It's so boring for a film professor to say this, but I think Citizen Kane is the greatest movie ever. I really do. And not because it teaches you great lessons about film or, you know, the way it handles the spatialization of time and the dynamization of space and the juxtaposition of imagery and all the fancy film talk. It's just a great story. It's just such a compelling story, and it uses the medium so phenomenally well. I remember when I was a student at SC, Lynn Dunn, the special effects guy, came in and showed how they did the special. There's a lot of special effects in Kane, and they're very primitive compared to computer graphics today, and involving all kinds of tricks in the lab, high contrast and bypacking the film and printing, and then printing from the tail end, and all kinds of very, very complex stuff. I mean, it's just the way it uses the medium is astonishing. And his success was so triumphant that it seems to have hurt him. You know, he really didn't handle it terribly well. He's not really he was disciplined enough there, but afterwards kind of lost control of the discipline. Talent is hugely overappreciated. You do need talent, but much more important than that is discipline. And discipline means time. It means giving the time to the thing and not hurrying. And he does seem to have. I mean, it's a tragic story. I'll tell you, he was supposed to teach here, Wells, and would have had he not died. He was all set to teach, and the dean then told me that he said to him, "So you all ready for your class?" And they said, well, he's kind of nervous about it. He's as ready as he can be, but he's kind of nervous. He said, why? What's to be nervous about? You're Orson Welles. You've surely taught before. He said, no, never. I've never ever taught. This is the first time. And they said, really? You never wanted to teach before? And he said, almost shamefacedly, that no, that wasn't it. The problem was nobody had ever asked him. They'd never invited him to teach. Kind of like the prettiest girl at the dance. The guys don't think she'll dance with them, so nobody asks her to dance or something like that. He was I mean, here he is. I have a picture of him up here. So there he is. I mean, just to look at this man, you can see he's committing suicide there. I mean, he must weigh close to 400 pounds in that picture. He can barely breathe. He's obviously full of disappointment and self-loathing, and a very, very self-destructive guy. To be a great artist doesn't mean you have to be that way. But to be a great artist doesn't mean if your art falls into place, that your life will fall into place. So I don't know what, it's anybody's guess really what happened to him. George Lucas had a triumphant success when he was still in his 20s. He was already a millionaire when he turned 30. And he still managed to do gigantically creative stuff for many years to come. And I'm sure he just sold his company for, I love it, $4.05 billion. Even just the 0.05 is $50 million. So I don't think, now he's kind of a haunted guy. In recent years, I see George smiling. I think he adopted some boys 10, 12, 15 years ago, started to make a life for himself. I know from personal contacts and people who know him and so on that he really genuinely hated running the empire. It was like a trap. Called it Fortress Lucas. Very isolating, and it can't be easy to have that kind of success. Some people handle it better than others. if you look at most pictures of George up to about 15 years ago, he looks, I mean, I could show you bios here in my bookshelves where they have picture sections where he's, you know, on the set at Star Wars and so on, and it looks like he's about to be let off for execution, you know. He just seems terribly, desperately unhappy. But certainly he's disciplined in ways that Wells was not, and managed, I think, to stay successfully creative in ways that Wells was not able. But I don't think it flows necessarily from the success that it has to be that way. I mean, Steven Spielberg has had a unparalleled success. Who's more successful than Steven? Expensive too, and he seems to, you know, he had one marriage that kind of stuttered, but you know, his current marriage is 30-something years. I only met him once. I don't know him. I only know of him, but everybody I know who knows him, and indeed I've a lot of former students have written for him and know him real well. He seems, despite his success, to be a very happy guy, if I could put it that way. As happy as an artist can be. I mean, you know, artists are haunted by the need that they have, not just the desire to create and make new statements. If you're as successful as Stephen, you're going to engender a lot of jealousy. A lot of people are going to want to take pot shots at you, and so on. I just saw Lincoln, and I was at a screening at the Guild, and Tony Kushner was there. Kushner, I don't know about you, but I thought Angels in America was a triumph, just a most amazing play. My brother-in-law won the Tony. He's an actor in the Roy Cohn part. Pacino plays it in the movie. Lincoln, it's a triumph. You know, I'm notorious for hating all movies, and I don't hate all movies. I just hate most movies. I mean, most art is pretty bad, but it's worth it. You see something like Lincoln, and it's worth sitting through 15 stupid movies to see something that really is transforming, like Lincoln, and that's pretty bold. Stephen can do whatever he wants. This is a real reach, I mean, he's inviting all kinds of risk. He's not playing it safe. He appreciates that the most hazardous thing you can do in art is to play it safe. So I don't think it follows that great success requires you know, disappointment in later careers. It just happens from time to time. Wells has a unique story. I don't know the whole story of his life, but you know, my wife is a psychotherapist in private practice for many years, and I tend to think the book is, maybe it's her influence, but I think the book is written early. It has to do with how you came to feel about yourself as a child, and that has a lot to do with the parenting and so on, you know, that it's not success that brings people down. Some people handle success very, very well.